Man, nothing will make you feel older than new technology. Just a minute ago, I learned that I can turn the recording on and off with the top side button of this DJI mic. Uh, I guess I would have learned that if I would have read the manual or watched a YouTube video. I was trying to go for the noise canceling feature, was actually the power button, but I hit the top button and I kept hearing a beep. I was like, what's going on here? And I was like, oh, snap. I could turn it on and off. Now I don't have to reach for the video to press play or like when I, do the editing, I don't gotta cut that part out. But anyways, hey, it's a one-man show. You learn something new every day. But without further ado, this is another episode of Brothers Need Therapy. It is a beautiful day down here in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. I am blessed. I am grateful. It is November, and back in the States, back in Atlanta, where I was living before I moved down here. um this is when the chill would come into play, and I am not a fan of cold. I was born and mostly raised in St. Louis, Missouri. um and when I was in the army, I went to basic training during the winter cycle, so I froze there down in Lawton, Oklahoma, at Fort Sill, the home of the field artillery. And then my first duty station was Fort Lewis, Washington. I got there during the winter, and I was cold there. I spent around 3 years in Germany, and I froze there. I froze in Iraq. I froze in Fort Carson, Colorado, and I had an outside job. I was field artillery, and so being inside was a luxury. And I tell people I'd rather be hot than cold because heat is uncomfortable, cold hurts. And I guess that's a good segue because I'm going to be going into a topic that can be very hurtful, and that is being a deadbeat dad, which is something that I am. Um, and I bet you're asking, like, why would you even identify with that term? Because that's life. That's life sometimes. And I was inspired to talk about this topic by David Goggins. He is a former Navy SEAL, and he has a large platform where he talks about greatness, improving yourself, being a better version of yourself. I think he does these like ultra marathons, and it came out a few months ago. His daughter actually came out and said, "Yo, this dude ain't shit," and he wasn't in my life, and he's a deadbeat. And so instead of dodging the topic, David he faced it head on. Uh, I saw the video of him at some place where he was giving a talk, and he talked about it, and his mom was there. She gave her perspective about it, and he was pretty much like, "Yo, I was young. I was with somebody. It didn't work out, and because it didn't work out, that affected the relationship with his daughter." And I totally understand it. I got it. Like, I feel like when you have similar experiences with somebody, you can understand what they went through or where they're coming from. It's like you're you don't have the veil over your eyes that a lot of people have, the veil of pain that a lot of people have. It just reminds me of this woman that I dated before when I lived in Atlanta, and she didn't have the best relationship with her father. And I asked her, I was like, you know, have you ever thought about where his pain came from? Because um, I feel like there's levels to the deadbeat. There are the ones that totally want nothing to do with their kids or the offspring that they create. And I swear this is such a nuanced topic. It'll be interesting to get a bunch of fathers in the room and talk about it. But yeah, you have the ones that totally don't want a thing to do with their kids, that are making babies and just getting women pregnant, not taking responsibility for them. You've got the ones that wanted to have a relationship with their kids, but for whatever reason, the mom is blocking the relationship. And I feel like there's another level to it. Then you got the ones that don't know. They had kids. I don't know where that little kid is or whatever. Maybe as I keep talking, then another layer of that will come into play. But yeah, when I asked old girl that question, she kind of was like, she's like, what? His pain? Like, his pain don't even matter. Like, no matter what, he should have been an active father. And I'm like, it ain't that easy. It's not that simple. It's a very complicated situation. And so I do applaud David for even addressing it, and taking what I feel like his level of responsibility for it. Like I said, I don't know. I ain't in that man's life. I don't follow everything about him, but it was just interesting seeing the discourse. There was a lot of pain on the internet where, pain tends to reside, and a lot of people can't look past their own pain because they might have had a situation where their dad wasn't in their life, or these women that will have kids with dudes that either like, yo, you knew this dude wasn't shit before you had a kid with him, and then are surprised that he's not shit after the fact. Or you got situations where things change, there's a divorce or there's a breakup, and there's a lot of pain, and the pain can get in the way. Or you got the ones where like, I tried to cultivate a relationship with the father, and he didn't want it. And yeah, man, it's a lot of hurt. And I guess I'll go ahead and get into my situation. This is something that I've never really addressed. And one, I'm talking about it because you never know. My stock may rise at some point. All right, this is going to be the selfish reason. Hey, my stock may rise to the point where I got a whole larger following, and I can say, and I can get this story out. And then if it does happen, we're like, oh, he's a deadbeat. I can be like, look, I talked about this a while ago. Take the Tyler the Creator approach. And then also too, I just want to give my perspective of everything, because in my case, yeah, I did some fuck shit, but my kid's mother controlled the narrative. I had a part to play in the narrative, but the narrative wasn't fully in my control. And so I just want to talk about it. I never know. My kids may see this. I have two kids, a boy and a girl. They are, my son is 23 and my daughter is 22. Life, man, them years be going by quick. And I got married young. I got married at 19. My son was on the way. My story is wild because 9/11 happened on a Tuesday. I got married the following day on that Wednesday. I got arrested for trying to run from the cops on a Thursday. I was trying to evade a speeding ticket. And then I think that following week or whatever, I got fired from my job. And I had, I had a new wife and I had a kid on the way, and we were supposed to move into our apartment. And I grew up very sheltered. I grew up in a Christian conservative home. Shout out to my parents. I love them. I had both parents in my home, which is crazy. Like both of my parents were in the home, but I didn't know how to necessarily be a father. Uh, my dad was a good example of a father, like, but he was physically present. Both my parents are physically present, but they didn't really know how to, or they didn't have the tools to be emotionally or mentally present. And you can't give what you don't have. You can't give what you aren't inspired to learn about. You can't give from an empty cup. And all my parents, they came from the generation of providing. They were like, yo, as long as you got a roof over your head, as long as you got clothes in your back, as long as you got food to eat, we covered the basics. And it's crazy to think that I am 5 generations removed from slavery. And I'll be saying like, yo, we, especially as black people, we're starting learning how to be free because we were enslaved longer than we were free. And so fast forward, I got married young, instantly going into struggle, trying to start out having a family, didn't have, fortunately, my kid's mom, she helped me get a job, and that was great because I was able to have that job right before my son was born. March 6th, 2003. I'll never forget that day, man. It was a beautiful, beautiful moment. Like watching your kids be born is just one of the most, it's the most beautiful thing you will experience in life. Like nothing has topped it. And so I was young. We were both young. I was learning how to be a man. I was learning how to be a husband. And then I had to learn how to be a father. Those 3 hats all on the job training. And that's not the greatest. So I didn't know who I was as an individual. And then I didn't really know who this woman was that I chose to marry and impregnate. And we both came from abuse. I was physically abused by my father in the form of discipline. Like my dad, the only times I got whooped was when I messed up in school. Now my dad went a little too far with the whooping sometimes, but that's all he knew. That slave stuff passed on down from generation to generation. So I had a lot of pain. I was sheltered. So I'm learning about the world. And it's funny because my ex-wife, she was like, hey, you were trying to be married and single at the same time. And so there was cheating. There was domestic violence in the home. I didn't know how to control my anger. And so our arguments used to escalate. And my ex-wife, she was from the north side of St. Louis. It's wild to think that her home was right around the corner from where they shot Nelly's country grammar video. And I don't know the levels of abuse that she may experienced because when we were dating and we were seeing each other, we weren't taking that time to really get to know each other. Hey, what are your triggers? What abuse did you experience? What was your life like before we got here? And shoot, years later, we still don't know. We don't even talk. And so that is not a good recipe. And so I would trigger her, she would trigger me. We would have fights in front of our kids. My daughter was born 17 months after my son. Wasn't nobody teaching us about family planning. My ex-wife, she was on birth control, but she ended up taking antibiotic, and it knocked out the birth control. So I got her pregnant with our daughter, and I will never forget that the day my daughter was born, which is August 2nd. No. All right. My son was born March 6, 2002. My daughter was born August 2nd, 2003. And in the delivery room, when my daughter was born, after she came out, I looked over at my mom and I was just crying. And I was like, Mom, I verbally said this, like it could be heard. And I was like, Mom, I don't know how I am going to take care of another one, because we were living in an apartment, in a 2-bedroom apartment on the west side of St. Louis. A few months previous, like we had a car, but I wrecked it. I totally didn't have a car, didn't have transportation. We were using public transportation. I was making maybe less than $9 an hour. This was back in 2003. Trying to raise a family. Like, I think we was on food stamps. I was working a job, so I can only get so much assistance. We could man, it's interesting talking about this stuff. Yeah, man, it was not easy. It was not easy. And even with 2 kids, like I just did not know how to be present with my kids. I didn't. I had the pressure to provide is a motherfucker. The pressure to provide ain't no joke. It is a psychological weight. It will make you angry. It will make you retreat. It will make you do some wild stuff, man. And I tried though. Like I did the best I could with what I had. And I know I'll be seeing stuff, especially I know sometimes I've seen these Reddit threads about people or adults that go no contact with their parents, and they're like, the parents, they try to say they did the best they could with what they had. They should have done better. I'm like, shoulda, woulda, coulda, but didn't. And so, trying to raise a family, figure myself out, but after a while it was too much, having these fights. And we dealt with a lot of struggle too. We got there was a point where we got evicted from our apartment, had to couch I couch surfed with a wife and 2 kids, and then I joined the Army. And probably getting away was probably one of the best things that I did, because gotta love the scenery and the sounds that come from the streets of Mexico. But if I wouldn't have gotten away, if I wouldn't have left home, I would have ended up killing that woman, because I had so much anger in me. And I am not going to excuse my behavior, but it wasn't like I was coming home and just beating on that woman. Oh, there's levels to domestic violence. Like, I was triggered. The arguments would escalate. She would go for the phone. I would try to stop her, and then we tussling. And but the fact that my kids had to see that, the fact that, like, the me now, I got to take ownership, because I'm the man in the situation. The me now will go tell the me then, like, yo, bruh, chill out. It ain't even that serious. Like, why y'all even arguing? But I wasn't in a position to talk about what I was dealing with mentally. I didn't have nobody to talk to. I got married early. None of my friends were going through what I was going through. My parents really didn't understand what I was going through. Her parents didn't understand what I was going through. I had nobody to really talk to and help guide me through that. So even now at the age that I am, sometimes I have to talk to my younger self. I'm like, it's okay, you went through that. But yeah, once I left home and joined the Army, I left home when my kids were 3 and 2. And she didn't go with me. I felt like pretty much I noticed that she was starting to be done. Like after we finished couch surfing, we got a place on the south side of St. Louis. And like, I caught her cheating with some dude online. Hey, I cheated first, and then she was done with it, and she was like, all right, I'm gonna get my lick back. I knew she was pretty much done when I was in basic training. And I was sending all my money home. And so to make money, I used to sell cigarettes, dip, make beds, take extra fire guard shifts. I was risking my freedom to sell contraband. And I was even like throughout the Army, when I would go home, I still didn't really know how to be present with my kids. Like I would have them and they would be with me at my parents' house, but my dad would be the one more involved with them. And when I was away, like even when I was in Germany, like I would still try to control the situation back home. Like if I wasn't getting what I want with their mom, it would turn into arguments. And when I knew that she was fucking around with other dudes, one in particular, especially because she ended up getting pregnant while we were still married, had my insurance pay for it. She got pregnant while I was before I left for Germany. Literally sat right across the table from her, and we was talking before I left, and she was pregnant then. Didn't tell me anything then. I mean, I understand, I was a crazy motherfucker. Even I tried to choke her out when I got back from basic training because I asked her to cut my hair and she wouldn't do it. And I was like, I went through all this shit in basic, got talked to like I wasn't shit, did everything that I needed to do, sending all the money home, risking my freedom to sell contraband, and you can't cut my hair. And so I snapped. And so we ended up fighting. I was trying to choke her out or use moves I had learned in the Army. Police got called. They just told me, hey man, just go away until you gotta, chip off. And so even after I went to Iraq the first time, I came back. I was really extra crazy then. And she was all like, yo, I wish you would have died over there in Iraq. And I can't be mad about it now because if I would have, she would have like almost $500,000. Speaking of Iraq, my damn paranoia, I look back. But yeah, I blacked out. I snapped. And I was strangling her. Her sister had to pull me off her. But my kids seeing all this. But yeah, every time she was on some, in my eyes, when she was on some bullshit, I would cut off the money. And then, she would call my chain of command and it was like, hey, yo, you chose that woman. She's your responsibility. Take care of responsibility. And just throughout that, I never developed a relationship with my kids. Like we would talk here and there, like I'll try to call home. I see them, I have them, but I never developed a relationship with them. I just looking back at it, I was like, man, I was hurt. Because I was hurt, I did hurtful shit. And on that note, we're gonna do a part 2. So this has been episode of Brothers Need Therapy. Like, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend. Fellas, brothers, countrymen, lend me your ears. Hey, tell your stories, man. Get, you've got questions, concerns, comments, gripes, Yelp reviews, drop them in the comments. I want more men to talk about their pain. This is what this platform is for. I want there to be a safe space for men to place their pain, because there's not a lot of safe spaces for us men to place our pain, and we got to get it out. Because if we don't get it out, it's going to eat us up. If we don't get it out, it's going to result in things like domestic violence. It's going to result in things like, hey, I don't want to fuck my kid. I don't want to fuck with my kids because I'm not fucking with their mama. And so, yeah, stand by for part 2. And I'm going to hit this button, man. This is such a cool feature because I don't have to keep getting up and turning this thing on and off. Peace.